The red and blue lights cut across Maple Ridge Lake like broken fireworks flashing off the water while two patrol cars rolled onto the dock. Neighbors lined the walkway with their phones out. Karen, in her peach blazer, was pointing at me like I was some criminal. All because I refused to walk into her so-called mandatory HOA meeting. What she didn't know was I had a brown envelope in my backpack that could turn the entire night upside down. Act 1. The conflict begins. I'd moved to Maple Ridge Lake in early spring, renting a small gray cabin with a crooked porch and a view of the water. It was the kind of place that smelled like pine and old books, and for a while life felt simple. I'd wave to Sarah and her son Mason across the fence, help old Mr. Hargrove carry his groceries, mow the grass near the mailbox so the mailman wouldn't trip. I didn't think much about it. Small kindness goes a long way. Then the HOA notices started arriving. White paper, bold black letters, lawn height can't exceed 3 inches, mandatory cleanup day, late fees, fines. At first I played along, paid dues, picked up trash because that's fair. But it didn't take long to realize this board wasn't about fairness. It was about control. That's when I met her, Karen, the HOA president. She walked up my driveway like she owned it, peach blazer lipstick that didn't move when she frowned. She didn't say hello, didn't ask my name. She just pointed at the lilac bush I was trimming. "You're cutting it wrong," she said. Then she demanded I register my canoe with her HOA sticker program. I already had state registration, but that didn't matter. Everyone knows she snapped. No smile, no neighborliness, just rules barked like orders. Over the next few months it got worse. More flyers, more mandatory notices, more whispers from neighbors about secret votes and random fines. The final straw. A message saying there'd be a mandatory meeting at the clubhouse, no agenda, no proper notice, just show up or else. I texted Sarah. "That's not how this works, you know." She replied, "Karen says everyone has to come." One by one, people gave excuses, but Karen's response was the same every time. Mandatory means mandatory. So I told her straight, I'm not attending a meeting that wasn't legally noticed. She glared, chin lifted just high enough to pick a fight, and spat out the words, "If you don't come, I'll call the police." I laughed calm. Karen, police enforce laws, not HOA reminders. She folded her arms. "Watch me." And she did. Act 2. Escalation and the turning point. The patrol cars pulled up 10 minutes later, lights painting the lake red and blue. Kids were pushed back from the water, phones started recording. Karen stood tall, waving her clipboard like a sword. "That's him," she shouted. "He refuses to attend. He refuses to follow community rules. We need you to make him comply." I was just loading my canoe, copper sitting steady at my heel. Officer Miller asked what was going on. I explained calmly. The meeting wasn't properly noticed. I'm not refusing community. I'm refusing a sham. Karen laughed sharp. "He thinks he's a lawyer. He's ignoring a summons." A summons? From her. I wanted to laugh in her face. But then the crowd murmured, arms crossed, eyes cutting toward me. For a moment I felt the ground slip out from under me. Was I the problem? Was I just stubborn, making a scene over technicalities? Maybe if I just walked into that clubhouse it would all blow over. My chest tightened. I thought about Copper, about neighbors looking down, about being branded the troublemaker. And then no. No, I reminded myself. This wasn't stubbornness. This was right versus wrong. Rules aren't real if they're only enforced one way. So I reached into my backpack. Karen's eyes widened. "He's pulling something out," she barked. Officers tensed. I raised my voice. "Just paper." I unfolded the brown envelope, heavy with stamped pages and signatures. Title documents, voting rights, majority ownership. Officer Miller's brows rose. Officer Patel leaned closer. Karen's mouth fell open like she'd just swallowed a nail. Thunder cracked across the lake. The meeting sign ripped off its stake and skittered across the dock like a bad omen. Phones zoomed in. Everyone saw it. That was the first crack in her armor. But Karen wasn't backing down. She doubled down. Ordered fines on the spot, $100 that night, another $100 every day I refused. Elliot, her board ally, shouted that I was disrupting community order. Then chaos hit. The clubhouse doors burst open, files scattered, the HOA safe emptied, every dollar gone. Accusations flew like sparks. Elliot pointed at me, screaming that I staged it. Neighbors gasped, and that's when Karen lunged at me, tried to rip the envelope out of my hands, slipped on the wet dock, and fell straight into the lake. Without thinking, I threw the papers to Officer Patel and dove after her. The water was black and cold, her peach blazer glowing like a warning flare. She clawed at me, but I turned her face up, told her to lean back, kicked us both toward the dock. Hands hauled her out. She sat there, coughing, hair-plastered mascara running, looking at me as if seeing me for the first time. But the storm wasn't done, because when the officers checked the clubhouse, they found the safe, broken money missing, and someone had used a key. This wasn't random. This was inside. And that's when the shadow slipped out the back, carrying something heavy. Copper barked ears high. I pointed. There. Someone's running. The officers sprinted after the figure. Elliot sneered, pointing at me again. "Don't believe him. He's lying to distract you," Sarah finally snapped. "Are you insane? He just saved Karen's life. Maybe the reason you're shouting so loud is because you've got something to hide." The neighbors murmured louder. For the first time, Elliot's voice didn't carry. Act 3. Climax and Justice. Minutes later, the officers returned with mud on their boots and Copper at their side, dragging someone by the sleeve. A figure stumbled out of the trees, soaked and panting. Elliot. His jacket was torn, his face streaked with rain and sweat, and in his arms was a duffel bag bursting with wet bills. The neighbors gasped in unison. Officer Patel shouted, "Drop it!" Elliot froze wild-eyed before his knees buckled and the bag hit the dock, spilling money across the wood like fallen leaves. Miller cuffed him right there, his voice steady as iron. "Elliot Carter, you're under arrest for theft, misappropriation of funds, and obstruction of an investigation." The crowd erupted, not chaos this time, but relief. Gasps, curses, shouts of betrayal. Mr. Hargrove tapped his cane voice, cracking with age but strong. "Shame on you, Elliot. Shame." Karen sobbed into her towel, whispering she didn't know that Elliot told her they'd lose everything if she didn't help. Fear had made her a fool, but the evidence in her blazer pocket, the pouch of stolen cash, said enough. The officers held the duffel-soaked bills plastered to its sides, neighbors snapping pictures, voices rising with anger. Sarah hugged Mason close, whispering, "See, truth always comes out." And then Officer Patel handed me the envelope back, sealed in a new evidence bag. She said quietly, "These documents will go to the county, but it looks clear you're not just a resident. You're the majority owner of Maple Ridge." Neighbors gasped again. Karen froze. Even Elliot, red-faced in cuffs, stopped struggling. I stood dripping copper at my side, the storm finally easing overhead. The truth was out. The board's lies, their theft, their intimidation, it all broke apart on that dock. And for the first time, I wasn't the outsider. I was the one holding the wheel. Final beat. That's where it ended, Elliot in cuffs. Karen stripped of power, the crowd staring at the truth they couldn't unsee. And the lesson: power without kindness is just fear, but kindness with courage can tear down any wall of control.